We're really quick to define people's jobs to what we can see on the surface, but what happens behind the chair is a completely different conversation. Today, I have Tatiana with me, and I am so excited for you to get to know her and to get to know her story, not just as a hairdresser, but everything else that she has going on and what led her to her journey. So I'm going to toss it over to Tatiana so she can give you a quick introduction.
Thank you. So everybody, I'm Tatiana. I am a hairstylist. This year actually marks 13 years of being in the industry. Um, I guess I would call myself a holistic hairstylist now through the last couple years of navigating some things. But I am a salon owner and I do a ton of, freelance work that brings me to really cool spaces to where you and I met back in May, in New York, for Sports Illustrated. I would just add that I'm a new mom, so navigating that part of my life right now has been very interesting. And I'm a wife. I have some siblings, and um, yeah, I'm excited to be here. It's been a while since I've podcasted, so this feels really nice.
Yay, I'm so happy that we could do this together. And congratulations. Now that you're a new mom, that's very exciting.
Thank you.
Just a friendly reminder, I'm not a therapist, psychologist, or expert in human behavior. This is a judgment-free assumption checking zone. Take what resonates and leave the rest. So we did meet at a Sports Illustrated swimsuit event. I'm very happy that I needed to get my hair touched up and that I thought it was really frizzy because otherwise we would not have met.
Right, exactly. There were so many people there too, so it easily could have just, you could have sat in somebody else's chair.
I'm a true believer in the
Mhm.
timing. So for me, that's always something that I've believed in is timing is everything. So
Yeah, for sure.
when someone asks you what you do, how do you describe your job or your career as a hairstylist to someone who's just asking?
So I always feel like this question is so hard for me to answer because the whole conversation of like, oh, what do you do for work seems like mm, not my favorite, right? So I don't always love talking about myself. So I always find it hard to be like, "Oh, I'm a hairstylist." Because then I'm like, "Okay, wait." I pause and I'm like, "Oh, immediately I'm not going to be taken seriously. Immediately maybe this person might like throw me into a category of like, "Oh, that's it." You know? So I like to say that I'm a salon owner, and that, I guess I do say that I'm a hairstylist, but it's a little, obviously the title is a little different now, but I would say that I'm somebody who focuses mostly on holistic hair services and, operating a business that is really intentional about like how we um, use uh, color and hair products in a world where I feel like everyone's so hyper focused on like health and wellness and stuff that's going to make them feel good and I think people always miss the bit of like hair color and that part of beauty, and they don't ever think that you could be there could be an option for a more non-toxic approach to hair. And so when I say I'm a holistic hairstylist, I think people are thinking so beyond what it actually is. But it's just the approach to hairstyling. Now I just look at it a little differently and um yeah, just trying to make that more comfortable and saying like I'm a holistic hairstylist versus like I'm just a hairstylist.
We are absolutely going to dive into that deeper though later on, especially when we hit the assumption portion of the
Hmm.
episode, because I don't like that you have to feel like that when you tell people you're a hairstylist, which I think is
Yeah.
also going to be like a very interesting perspective when we get to some of these assumptions.
Hmm. For sure.
So, what does being a holistic hairstylist mean to you? Because I was immediately intrigued when we followed each other on social media and I saw that you said that because I was like, that's really interesting. I have never met anyone where I've either seen that in their bio or anyone ever even like worded it that way to me. So I'm really curious too.
Yeah, so basically I guess the approach to, because if you say holistic hairstylist, people immediately think like holistic nutrition or holistic medicine, and so it really has nothing to do with anything other than the ingredients I choose to work with are leaning cleaner versus mainstream color hair products services. I think my view on how I see hair is in a more natural way. I like just people to embrace their their natural beauty, or how we can embrace their natural beauty without having to change who you are or what you look like. Like, I think it's so cool that people want to, bleach their hair platinum or be a royal blue color or like a hot pink, and that for me is still beautiful, but I think I never really had like an experience where like anybody ever told me like, oh, this would suit you, or that like this hair color would suit you, or this haircut would work really good with your lifestyle, and oh, what are you using at home, and these products are actually products that won't disrupt your endocrine system. And over time, using hair color, especially like on your scalp, use it, being in a setting where maybe you're like a weekly blow dry person, or if you're somebody who uses a lot of products at home, um, all those products can eventually cause some disruption in our bodies that we don't know about. So I think from the holistic aspect, I look at all of those things as like, how can I how can I make this person look gorgeous, right? Feel really good about how they look. Know that the style that they want is attainable, and they can absolutely use products that are good for them right now and in the long run. Because in our industry, I noticed that there's a lot of older stylists or stylists that are around my time and maybe like 10 to 20 years in, that are dealing with autoimmune issues. They're dealing with like chronic illness, and a lot of it comes from our jobs. Like, we're in our salons more than we are at home, and we're breathing chemicals. If you're a busy stylist, you're like constantly in chemicals, constantly, you know, inhaling them, getting them on your skin. And I actually had you know, we can talk about this later, but I had a situation where I had to look at my career and basically make the decision of, do I quit or do I stay with this and kind of try to figure out how to do this in a way that's more non-toxic, cleaner, so that I have longevity in my career. So that's kind of how I dove into it. And that's kind of, for me, that's what it means, is to just like look at it through another lens of like, how can we have longevity and maybe lessen our toxic consumption.
That is so interesting to hear about, though, because I feel like a lot of people don't necessarily think about that. They make their appointment, they go in, they're sitting there maybe inhaling and smelling some of that, like the products while it's happening, but then they leave and they go home. And that's so true. You guys are in there. I mean, in the ballroom studio, we're in there like almost all day too, but I can get that as a hairstylist. That's like your second home. So.
Yeah.
Very interesting. You definitely got me on that perspective though, because I can be honest with you, it like never occurred to me to think that way. Because like obviously I know as a dancer, yeah, the studio is my second home, but that totally makes sense that that's your second home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so interesting. Like, when I explain to newer clients, because I kind of brought my clients along this journey with me, and they've seen like the evolution of me using like toxic products, and then moving into this space. And I love explaining it to people, because it's just one of those things, like you said, like you don't think about it. Like, someone goes into the salon, they do what they do, and then they go home, and then they're like not realizing that, oh, this could be potentially sabotaging me in some way in the future.
No, that's like such an interesting perspective. And I can tell that you're passionate about it too, which is always so special when you find something that you can talk about like that, and just it makes you happy to talk about it and other people can tell that you truly care about it. So I love that.
Thanks.
Now, you kind of like started segueing into my next question about what pulled you into this path in the first place.
So back in 2023, I started dealing with like a few autoimmune issues, and they progressively got worse to the point where I was just like uncomfortable in my body. It was hard for me to physically make it to work. Um, I had been doing the work to kind of figure out like why my body was having all of these issues, and through numerous doctor visits and dermatology visits, because it was a skin situation, um, I basically had to kind of stop myself from dealing with the Western way of taking care of my body, or getting help for what I needed, because everything was just either a pill, an injection, topical cream, and what I was having a reaction to topical steroids. So I don't know if you've ever heard of topical steroid withdrawal, but I unfortunately had to go through that for about 2 years, and then like kind of into like post pregnancy it made it flare. But anyway, I was having issues, and then I was noticing how after a really long day of work, my issues flared more, and I was like more fatigued. And when I had days like consecutive days off, I would feel a little bit better. I would notice my skin healing a little faster, and I was like, wow, I wonder if the environment I'm spending a lot of time in is causing my body to have this adverse reaction to where I can't heal even here. Like it's causing me to be in constant, I don't know, inflammation and a constant flare. And there was a point where I had to take off of work for consecutive days and cancel clients, and it's something that I don't ever do. Um, I hadn't taken time off either for a really long time. It was the year I got married, and there was just so much going on. After the wedding, I feel like that's when everything came to the surface, because it was when I was the most relaxed and like finally happy that everything was over. Um, and yeah, I was just in like a fight or flight mode, and it wasn't good. So I kind of stumbled upon a holistic doctor, and we were going through my life and like everything that I use and I eat and all this stuff, and he was like, your job is not helping you. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, you're exposing yourself to so many chemicals, and we need to get your body to detox, and there's no way that being in that environment and your situation is gonna like help you heal any faster. He was like, you either need to stop doing it, or you need to figure out an alternative to how you can maybe lessen the chemicals, maybe just do haircuts, maybe just, you know, um, figure something else out, basically, is what he said. And I kind of got like really angry at him, because I was like, who is this man telling me to quit my career because I have to heal there was like this weird conflict with that. And basically, I decided to listen to the advice after being mad at it. I was like, you know what? Maybe there is an option that exists out there, and maybe I'm just not knowledgeable in it. And it had always been something in the back of my mind that I wanted to dive into, but there's not that much in our industry that is non-toxic or labeled non-toxic or considered safe or non-endocrine disrupting. So I ended up finding this brand that had just came to fruition. So I found it in July, and the brand like launched in February of 2024, I believe. Um, and it was one of the best experiences I've like ever could have had. So they had a pop-up in Brooklyn, and I went to the class, and just like sitting through the class and like being in the room with like-minded stylists that all practice holistic hairstyling, which I had no idea that I could be in a room with that many people who do the same thing, because it just felt like no one did it, and I didn't have like a mentor blueprint or anything like that to kind of follow. So this class opened that door for me, and everybody talked about having like crazy issues, or knowing somebody that got really sick from being so booked and busy in the salon, and they wanted to change. And some of these people had been doing this type of like approach for like 20 plus years, and I was like, whoa, this is amazing. And they were older, so I'm like, clearly there's longevity if you're taking this seriously. So that kind of changed my life. I ended up bringing it in. I was working in a suite by myself, and I just saw how well the products performed. I saw the difference in just my clients being like, "Whoa, that smells so good," versus like maybe not commenting or being like, "Oh, that's like a intense smell." Um, and the results were amazing. The styling products were amazing because I'm really big in styling. I love styling hair. But the products I used were, in that realm. So I didn't think that also products would exist that are clean and can do the job. So needless to say, it was a really awesome moment for me in my career, and I was like, I had hope again that I can continue doing what I'm really passionate about doing, and then also letting my clients know like, hey, I'm changing this up not only for me but for you guys too, because some people were seeing me every 4 weeks for color, or coming in so frequently that like that affects you too, even though you're not in this space as long as I am. So it blossomed into something really nice, and I never thought I was going to be a salon owner, and it just kind of like stumbled into it, and I was able to like kind of make my message a little bigger, and I'm still in like the smaller stage of it, but it's really nice to see the more people in my area learning about what we do in the space.
That's just such a beautiful story, first of all. Sometimes stumbling into things ends up being almost the best path of how, you could even go about it. Because I do feel like sometimes pre-planning so much tends to almost make us stop or delay going into it versus just kind of discovering this whole new world like you did. And
Hmm.
I love that.
Thank you so much. It was definitely like trying times. Talking about it now seems easy, but during it, I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? Like, it felt like the most, like walking into a dark room with like blindfold on. Like I was like, I don't know what this is gonna be, but I hope it hits.
To me, though, that's like just sheer determination to continue doing what you love and just finding a way to do it.
Thank you. I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
absolutely. We've kind of discussed this a little bit, but so obviously with your journey, this like hairdressing and styling hair has become something deeper for you. Was there a specific moment in your journey discovering the holistic approach where you were like, yes, this is absolutely like I found it? Or was it kind of more gradual?
I would say it was a hell yes, I found it, because it was one of those things of like, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but you think of something in your head and you think maybe it doesn't exist, right? And you like create it in your head because it's like, oh my God, I would love to do that. And I would love for it to look this way and feel this way and to be, you know, to like be received in a certain way. And I wasn't finding that on my own. And then obviously after doing research, I was like, okay, maybe I just didn't research well enough, because it exists. It's out there. It's hard to find, especially like where I'm at. Maybe if I was, I'm based on Long Island in New York, which is pretty like popular. This It's suburban, but New York City would probably be a place where I would maybe stumble upon it a little faster. But I think when I realized like, and I think when I was in it, I was like, okay, this feels so right. And it just always matched my personal lifestyle because of how I took care of myself at home, up until I got sick and couldn't, literally none of the magic tricks and potions that I knew about worked anymore because it needed more than that. But yeah, it just really felt so good, like almost immediately.
That's great though. And it's kind of like a you knew it was meant to be almost because of how like quickly and how great it just felt. That's what that sounds like to me.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, we're going to do a question where you get to give me an assumption. So, what do people usually assume about your work when they first hear it?
I think people might categorize me as like somebody who's not professional. Like it depends on the person I'm talking to. If it's another creative, they're like, "Oh shit, that's cool." If it's a
Mhm.
person who might be more on the corporate side of America who doesn't really know our industry or the beauty world, they might be like, she's just another girl that plays with hair all day." I think the assumption is not that really like every experience is so curated in my chair that like you change the way people see who they are. So I think that is the assumption like, oh, she's just another girl just like curling hair or cutting hair or she just cuts hair. Like I love when people are like, "Oh yeah, you just cut hair, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, girl. With science and a lot of other shit and therapy." Yeah.
I have a serious appreciation and respect for everything that you do. One, because in ballroom dancing hair, like I don't even try to do it myself. I found out that I need to go to an event and I'm like more than a month away, and I immediately texted one of my friends and I was like, "Girl, are you gonna be there? Because I really need your help." Hair has never been my strong suit. People have asked me to cut their hair before, and I'm like, I don't know why you would even think that's
They will because
remotely
they
a good
see your
idea.
hair so long and beautiful. They're probably like, "Oh, she knows."
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you have gorgeous
Um,
hair. I was all up in it.
Thank you. Yeah, I have like so much respect for everything that you guys do. And, again, as a creative, but also just as like a human being, I am not capable of doing anything to hair really. I mean, every now and then I'll do a box dye for one of my friends, but other than that, I try really to like stay in my own lane. I'm like, I really shouldn't be doing this.
Well, that's good because there's
All
people
right.
who probably think the same as you and still try to do it. You know what I'm saying? They're like, "Oh yeah, I'll just do this hair influencer thing." Give bad advice.
So I'll have to find a throwback photo, but I'll find a good one, not when I was like psycho and attempted to try it on my own. I did have pink hair once, but the first time that I did it, I had my hairdresser do it. And obviously he was like taking good care of my hair. But then for some reason, I was like so brave and I was like, oh, I can do this myself. Oh my goodness, I destroyed my hair. And
Hmm.
like, so the fact that it's like this now, I think this is why it takes me forever to even get a haircut because I'm just so happy that it doesn't like end an inch from where my like roots begin. It was bad. And it was that part wasn't my hairdresser's fault. That was like all on me. I take full responsibility for that. I never should have used an at-home bleach kit. So anyone, if you're thinking of using an at-home bleach kit, don't do it.
No, that if you're gonna take anything away from this conversation, please do not do your hair at home.
Send Tatiana a message and go visit her in Long Island.
Yeah, literally.
We're going to move into some assumptions. So these are taken from the corners of the internet, and we know the internet's not always a nice place. So I'm going to read an assumption to you, and then you get to give me your thoughts on it.
Mhm.
So, assumption number one, hairdressing, it's just doing hair.
Literally. That's that's what people think. Um, no, it's so much more. I think hairstyling, if you're passionate about it, you're just not doing it just to kind of move through life and maybe find a different career later on. I think you have to study it and study history and study just everything, even like real time trends and what people are doing and how people are wearing their hair or like other sides of the world. So I think the assumption really is that, but it's so much deeper.
The
Okay.
assumption really just kind of like definitely diminishes what you do, but it kind of just brings it down to it being so superficial. And I think there's a lot of clients even who, I mean, we all kind of have our hairdresser and we know who we're going to go back to. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of people who go to random people all the time, but for the most part, it's one of these things where you connect with someone and
Hmm.
it's just so much on a more on a deeper level than
Hmm.
how that assumption just makes it sound so superficial.
Yeah, I think it's so intimate the experience with a hairdresser, especially if you found someone that you especially feel seen by. I think a lot of people are missing that mark right now, especially because of how fast the industry is growing and like how quick people are showing up on social media and documenting their experiences with their clients behind the chair. And sometimes it could just feel transactional, and then there's times where at least how I like to approach it is like, I want you to know that you're safe in my chair. I want you to know that like there's no silly or stupid question. You're not annoying me for having a lot of hair. You don't need to apologize for having a lot of hair or having curly hair or frizz. I think there's so much more of uh like, if you care, the experience is different. So it's not just, oh, they're just doing hair. It's deeper than that. Like, I think sometimes we even touch people physically more than their own primary care doctors do. So there's that level of like there's a closeness there and something that happens, and it's not just surface, and it's not just, superficial.
Yeah, totally makes sense. It's not just a
Mm-hmm.
checklist of asking questions and kind of going
Mm-hmm.
down the list. You're actually spending time and genuinely curious about who's sitting in your chair.
Mm-hmm.
The next assumption, it's not a real or long-term career path.
I've heard that before. False. I think you can go very, very far in this career. And I think you also don't need to spend too much time in the career if you're smart about how you plan for your future, or how you want to set up, how you decide to grow in this space. I think there can be a lot of longevity. I think you can probably retire at a retirable age, or maybe a little younger if you're smart about what you do. Um, but I definitely would disagree with that assumption.
I agree with you disagreeing. Next up, you make easy money doing it.
There's nothing easy about the money that is made in hair. I think the easiest way you can make money in hair is doing blowouts all day long. That's easy money. It's kind of like a second muscle for a lot of us. Doesn't require much brain power, you know, might not even require much talking, but it is literally not the easiest way to make money. Because if you're going to specialize in something, if you're going to further your career to be a pro at foiling, at precision haircutting, like, that requires so much time and money because our education is not cheap. I think furthering your education is one of the things that deters most hairstylists from pursuing, like, a deeper knowledge in their career, because it's expensive. So, if you want to reach a certain point, I think you need to learn how to invest in yourself, and that requires you to have the money to invest in yourself.
Yeah, it's really just, I mean, I don't think people consider like the education that goes behind it. Again, kind of feeding into
Mm-hmm.
all these other assumptions about how, oh, you're just a hairstylist, you just cut hair. I wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
want someone like I wouldn't want me going in to cut someone's hair where I'm just like, okay, yeah, let me just cut away. I mean, it's gonna look
Yeah,
terrible.
I'm sure if you tried, it wouldn't. But it can get really crazy because there is so much science and math involved, and just things that you don't think about. Finger positioning and body positioning and so many things that go into it.
I believe it. I mean, even in ballroom dancing, it's like
Oh my gosh.
someone
Yeah.
asked me the other day, someone told me they were like, well, I really want to master it. And I was like, that is such a loaded statement. Like, you don't even understand because I've been doing this for over a decade professionally. That doesn't even include when I was dancing as an amateur. Like,
Mm,
I am nowhere close to mastering it. Really, no one is anywhere close to mastering it because, like everything else, it keeps changing. And every time you think you're closer to understanding something, something else has evolved because time goes on. So I'm totally with you about, there's a lot I think that goes behind everyone's career path that just people
hmm
don't see.
I agree. Yeah. And then it doesn't help that like now in our era of social media, you see people at the peak of their career or at like a point where you want that so bad and you're like, I need that right now, but you might not know what they had to go through to get there. So, same thing with you. It's like no one knows how hard you had to work to get to where you're at and what you've had to sacrifice or what you currently still sacrifice to even just show up and do what you have to do, Like I don't think anyone really is a master until they can like really do something with their eyes closed and like explain it all. Like I think a true master is always learning too.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Absolutely. I love that statement. A true master is always learning because it's so true. Because I really don't feel like the learning ever stops.
No, unless you decide to just give up, and just do what you know how to do and not evolve. But yeah.
Up next, the job is fun all the time because it's creative.
I wish. You know what makes it fun? Working with the right people. So I would say when you're in the environment with the right people, it's fun, but it's not always fun because again, human connection and just working with the public, things can get heavy. We are so involved in people's lives that like I don't know if someone's going to come in and say, "Oh, my mom passed away," or "Oh, I'm getting married today," or "Oh, I just got broken up with," or "Oh, maybe I don't want to talk today because I'm not feeling my best," or maybe I want to talk so much and then like on the other aspect of that, it's like also me, like my personal life. I do a good job at leaving it at home, but like, what if there's a day I can't hide it, or what if you know what I'm saying? So it's like so transactional, like in a energetic sense. Like I think that sometimes, yes, it will seem fun. Like I think sometimes my husband's like, "Oh, but you have fun with your clients. You guys are just like chatting all day," and I'm like, 99% of it is therapy. And I am so not a therapist that like so I try not to give advice. I try to be a listening ear, but sometimes listening is a lot, and sometimes it can get in the way of the appointment or it can make the appointment longer or shorter. It depends and it's taxing on you energetically, physically because you're standing the entire time and emotionally sometimes sometimes we hear things and I'll cry with my clients or I'll get really happy with them or there's so much emotion and so much energy involved that like even on my best days I sit in my car and I'm like, wow, what a day. I need to be in complete silence and that's not realistic. So you don't it's that aspect of like that no one really knows or sees that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
again, just completely different career path, but everything that you're saying makes so much sense. And I think it is one of those things where maybe people could believe it more if they experience it, but at the same time, if they always like think this way and never really open their minds to what the creative aspect of what people, do is, then I don't think
Hmm.
that they're ever really going to truly understand. But I think part of it is just also being open-minded about what other people go through and what other people do.
Yep, exactly.
All right. The last one is there's no real growth beyond what happens behind the chair.
Also false. That assumption I think comes from just not knowing um how many other avenues there are in hair and hair care and hairstyling. I think no one really thinks about how you can evolve into maybe the hair loss aspect of the industry. How you can go into, and hair loss is like so big that you can either be a hair loss specialist, you can be someone who makes wigs, you can be somebody who installs, more permanent toppers or more permanent hair loss pieces. You could be an extension specialist, and then they don't realize that you can also go into education, you can go into celebrity work, you can go into TV and film. So I think everyone kind of caps out hairstyling and hairdressing, if we want to call it that, as only a salon job and not doing ballroom dancer hair, doing hair on Broadway, doing hair for TV, like news. I don't think and those are careers that are so niche and sought after, but it's like a certain person will get there, and that's the growth, and that's how you develop a little further beyond the chair. And if you only want to stick to a salon and you want to open a salon, that's amazing too, because that's creating opportunity for other people in your industry that you care to see happen. And then there's the other aspect of like, you can go into product creation, you can go into like create, there's so many avenues that I think just begin at the chair for some people.
That's so important, I think, for everyone to hear too. And if there's anyone who is a stylist and you're listening, I mean, she just kind of gave you a whole selection of different avenues that you could take too. There's so much you can take away from this episode. I love that though, and there truly are like so many different paths, and I'm glad that you found yours. But do you feel like you're still going to continue exploring some other avenues and maybe like kind of create your own holistic aspect through it if it doesn't exist? Like, is that something you could see yourself doing?
I think yes. For a while before, I guess before I expanded into a more public space, like where I'm seeing clients that aren't just typically my clients. I have a stylist that works with me, I have an assistant, and you know, there are new faces coming into the space, which um I'm sort of getting more comfortable with, because I worked by myself I didn't mention this earlier, but I did work in a suite by myself for about 5 years. I had a business partner early on, and we were together for about 2 or 3 years, but for the most part I was solo, and I obviously stumbled into like holistic hairstyling towards the end of my suite career and just being solo. But I was incorporating Reiki into my services because I was like, oh, hair is so energetic. And um, for me, Reiki was something that I was getting done personally, and it was something that I felt called to get certified in. And so when I did, I was talking to my Reiki teacher, and I told her, I was like, do you think I can mix this in with what I do for work? And she was like, absolutely. Like, people need this more than you know. And I think when I was by myself, it was so easy to offer that to clients because it was a more intimate setting. So right now I'm currently figuring out how I can navigate having either multiple people in the space while it's going on, or just maybe figuring out a day where I just do that when we're closed, because I still want to offer that aspect of healing, and especially energetic healing, because I think they go hand in hand, especially because like we're working in where your crown chakra is. So it would be like really cool now, especially I would say like the last 2 years of my life have been absolutely chaotic, with opening the salon, finding out I was pregnant, being pregnant, going out on leave, and then coming back postpartum. So now I'm in a place where I'm like, okay, my baby's almost a year old. I'm feeling like I want to start growing my holistic experience in the salon. So yes, there are definitely things that I am looking forward to maybe reintroducing, or just like evolving into something different.
I am going to try not to be a total fangirl right now and stay on topic, but when you decide that you're going to introduce that, like I am going to come to Long Island and see you. I don't think you understand how excited I am that you just said that.
Yeah, yeah, I've done it on like a good amount of people, clients, like friends, family, and things like that. And there are clients who are like, let me know when you're getting back to doing Reiki. Like I need, like, it just is so nice to do that and then like get your haircut, or get your haircut and then do that, because the feeling you come in with, you don't leave with. It's like a different, you're like vibrating high, you know? And it's really cool to see. And even my most skeptical people, I was like, listen, you don't have to tell me that you felt anything, or like, this experience is for you to judge. And they're like, what was that? And I'm like, okay, we don't have to talk about it, but I'm glad you know what just happened. So yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
And I would love
I
to
never thought of
get you in for that.
I'm ready. I never thought about combining those two together, but as I said, I'm like ready to come to Long Island because that is seriously something I'd be down for. And to anyone listening, if you haven't tried Reiki yet, I mean, I'm not going to push it on you, but if you get curious, like I would recommend like checking it out and just like kind of venturing your way in. And I think it kind of relates to also what I said before about having an open mind.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
had my crystals out the other day and I was like charging them and someone walked by and was like, "Oh, why do you have rocks on a tray?" And I was like, "Don't get me started."
Oh my God. To keep me away from you. Because of you.
What I actually did was I took one and I was like, "I think you could really use this one. You should take it with you." I promise I'm
Yes.
gonna get back on track now though, but I'm ready. We did kind of just start to brush into this though a little bit about for the person who's actually sitting in your chair, right? Like some people come in just for a makeover, but for some people it is a little bit deeper.
Mhm.
And it's more than just kind of, they use their hair as a way to kind of start a transition or like continue a transition in their life. People always make a comment, you must be going through something tragic if you get bangs, like people make all these comments all the time.
Yeah.
What do you feel like actually changes for someone when they sit in your chair?
Um, what I like to maybe try to push whoever's in my chair to see themselves as like already perfect in a way for them. I want people to feel like I am good enough the way I look, but I know that you're gonna help enhance that for me, or help maybe shine that for me so that maybe I see it for myself too. I really strive for that, and it's never forced, or it's never fake. I think I always really just I like to ask a lot of questions, and I like to listen. So I think through listening to people and speaking to them more about like, oh, why do you like this and not this, or like a simple question of like, what's your lifestyle like at home, like, can you maintain this, can you you know I think I offer a different perspective is what I'm trying to say. So like I try to educate them more than pushing them to maybe just do something that maybe I would know that wouldn't suit them. Or there are stylists who just do things just to do them, so it's they're not taking into consideration maybe your eye color or your bone structure or the way your natural hair lays. And so sometimes people have this vision of what they want and what they expect. And I think being realistic and giving somebody like a realistic approach to maybe tweaking their vision a little to match their lifestyle, to match what they naturally have, or to enhance what they naturally have, is something that I always strive for. So I think people tend to leave feeling better about themselves, and that is my main goal.
When someone uses, I mean, I don't know, this is just kind of the word that came to my mind, but maybe there is a different word you would use for it. When someone really wants to come in for something different and like they want a transformation of some kind, where do you feel that you can balance it? Because I think that's really beautiful that you want to enhance what people already have, because maybe some people do come in, I'm sure they come in like not feeling very pretty at all.
Mm-hmm.
Or even like for guys for haircuts and things like that. I'm sure they don't always feel like their best either when they come in. So where do you find that you can like balance giving them a new look, but also like making sure that they do know that they were beautiful or like handsome the whole time?
Right. I think I think by just like the aspect of like touching their hair, like literally consulting with them. So like me touching their hair and being like, do you see how this moves? Do you see how this looks here? If I were to do this to you, which is what you want in the photo, do you see how that completely changes your profile? Or do you see how maybe sometimes I'll have a swatch with me to just literally show a person, like in their head, they're like, oh, I want to be red, but I want to be a deep wine color, right? And so I'm like, okay, so like this, and then they see it and they're like, I didn't think that I would look like that with that color. So maybe my approach is like, maybe we deepen it a little. Maybe we incorporate it with your natural hair. Maybe we do it in a way where it's not looking artificial and looks more lived in. Like that's kind of my segue into things, because that's typically my specialty, I would say, when it comes to anything that I do. I always want it to look beautiful, somewhat effortless, and also feel good for the person sitting in the chair. I always kind of refer to certain terms as like, if we overcolor your hair, it can look wiggy, it could look like it's not your hair. So I would never want somebody walking around like that, and I don't think I cater to a high maintenance clientele at all. So there are people who are like, no, I want to be unrecognizable and I want to look this way, and that's my vibe. And so those are not the people that I typically deal with. I deal with people who are like, I like effortless, I want to feel sexy, but I also don't want to be here all the time, so I also kind of, that's my whole way into maybe meeting them halfway, but still letting them know, like, I'm taking you into consideration while doing this. I'm not just giving you what you want and then you leave and I'll be like, ooh, that probably wasn't the best idea for them.
That adds just like a whole nother layer of the experience with you, though, that I mean, I appreciate someone who's honest with me and tells me if I have a bad idea before I go along with it. I'm sure other people appreciate that as well.
I mean,
But I
it's
just
never a
think that
bad idea.
I think that that's really nice, though, of you, especially to make sure that it is maintainable at home. I got a round curling brush stuck in my hair and I had to YouTube it how to get it out. And the first thing everybody said was, stop crying. Like, you're not gonna have to cut your hair out. And I was like, this is exactly why. Like, I can't have a hairstyle that requires a round brush because here I am, like, ready to be in tears. And now I'm listening to all these YouTube people telling me not to cry.
Hmm.
That's really special though. And that's great that you're trying to put your expertise in there while also keeping them in mind and what they want. So,
Yeah, because obviously I want everybody to feel happy and look their best, but genuinely, I'm the person that's going to kind of give it to you real with love. And ultimately, you decide, what we're going to do, but I'm really going to try to get you to see what I'm seeing.
yeah, makes
Yeah.
sense.
Hmm.
If we dive into your social media for a second, where did your handle come from, or how did you come up with your handle? The hair, am I going to say it right? Diosa?
Yeah, perfect. Yep. So the hair diosa started out because I was rebranding after I had a business partner. I went more solo and I was like, what am I going to call my space? And diosa had always been something that stuck out to me. I like, I feel like I'm the side quest queen. And so I always take up like little hobbies, and they're all relatively similar. I was making jewelry for a really long time that was like crystal jewelry, bracelets, necklaces. I was making like bag chains and like a bunch of different, I was just getting really creative. I had a lot more free time. And then that evolved into me during the pandemic doing skincare because, again, I've always had eczema, and really that's been kind of like my main thing of like, how do I make this better? What can I put on my skin? I don't want to use like harsh stuff. So I started making a balm for my skin, and then I ended up making like a face wash, and I made some oil. And so that was called Diosa Natural. So Diosa means goddess. And to me, like the word goddess just is so powerful. And I think every woman has like an inner goddess, and um goddess just as an energy too, just like for me, I just connected really to that. And so I'm Latina and I wanted to incorporate that into like my brand, so to say. So everything was kind of like Diosa Naturals. Um, it was the Diosa Den. And so when it came time to changing my Instagram handle, I'm like, am I just gonna be Tatiana Ramos Hair? Like that sounds so boring to me. And also the handle was taken. So I was like, all right, girl. Sat down and I wrote a bunch of names and I'm like, what the heck is this gonna be? I was like, should I just do the hair Diosa? Like that kind of it hit, it sounded good, and I was like, okay, it's not too long, there's not underscores, there's not like numbers involved. So that's kind of how I created that.
I love that though, and it's so special to
Thanks.
you and like just the hair diosa, the hair goddess. Like I absolutely love that. That's such a vibe.
Thanks. Thank you so
I'm so happy
much.
that you found that. And that's so interesting to know too that you were again like a true creative because you were just creating things, whether it was like jewelry or skincare. I mean, that's so cool.
I know, it was kind
I
of, it was wild. It was wild times during the pandemic.
Well, that's really cool. And I'm super impressed that you were able to formulate all of those too. That's really impressive.
Yeah, this was before ChatGPT, so the brain was working.
Yes. One last question before we do a little bit of rapid fire. So,
Mhm.
what do you feel like has been the hardest part of building your name in this industry?
Mm, that is a great question. I think I had to immediately kill the comparison feature, like, or the aspect of everything when it came to seeing people who were maybe less experienced than me a little further in their career, or me like passing judgment on someone thinking they were less experienced than me, and like why them, not me. So I think I had to kind of really kill that thought, so that because that was getting in my way, or when I felt like I missed an opportunity or turned down an opportunity that could have furthered me in my career, I really took that to heart. And then not until I got more in tune with just like how things work out in your life, and how sometimes a closed door just means that it wasn't for you, and it doesn't always mean that the door won't open up again down the line, but maybe for the season that you're in, it just wasn't right. And, a lot of the times looking back, I'm like, oh yeah, like if I would have done that, this wouldn't have happened. Or if I, the perspective aspect of it, right? Like not knowing in the moment, and then now being able and like being, you know, grateful enough to look back and be like, oh, that was a lesson, or that was the reason why. Or, oh, if, had I said yes, who knows, like maybe that wouldn't have been an ideal situation, or maybe me and that person wouldn't have gotten along. There's so many things that now I'm like, okay, everything kind of led me to where I am now, and I'm not mad at it. So that has been the hardest part. And then also, I guess, everything is evolving so quickly, and sometimes you can feel that, like, especially, I know I said this a few times, but going back to social media, because it's like such a integral part of my career now, adapting to like, oh shit, if I don't post, am I not relevant? And if I'm not frequently, showing up online, like, are people gonna forget about me? Are people gonna, write me off? Are people, so that whole that it's hard to like keep up, stay authentic, care about what you're doing, but also showing up behind the chair, because it's like a lot of my business comes from word of mouth, or because I've had clients for so many years, like sometimes I have to remind myself, like, social media isn't the only way that I'm gonna eat. And so like things have been happening outside of that for me without the social media. So there's like a hard balance, but like there are a few bumps that come up, and that make it a little harder, but I would say those things, definitely.
Those are some really solid answers, though, I have to admit. And there's a lot that we could dive into in the future on that. So,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
very, very good. We're going to move into some rapid fire. So these are not necessarily hair related, and they're
Okay.
just like quick answers, whatever comes to mind, so listeners can get to know you a little bit better. All right.
Hmm.
So, are you ready for a night out or a night in?
Night in. Always.
What's one word for your current energy?
Right now, my energy?
Oh, yeah.
Tired.
Fair. Your comfort food of choice.
Nachos.
Oh,
Like loaded nachos.
yes. Yes. So I'm thinking Reiki while my hair is done, and I'll bring loaded nachos.
Yes. We'll both be floating out of the salon.
A habit that you're trying to break.
Mmm. Overthinking.
That's a great one. What's your bad day kind of like coping mechanism?
Watching really bad reality TV or like a crazy murder documentary.
Mhm.
That's like my comfort. I'm like, I need this.
Is there a current reality show you always find yourself going towards?
So I'm really into Real Housewives of Rhode Island, which I've
Okay.
never really gotten into a Real Housewife show like that before. Um, and what else was I watching? Oh, Life After Lockup.
I've never seen that. Well, actually, I could say I've never seen either. I've actually
Okay.
never watched any of the Housewives shows, and I haven't watched that one either.
It's wild.
I believe it. What is something that you are very competitive about?
Ooh, am I competitive? Damn, this is not the rapid fire answer.
Oh,
Um,
no.
what am I competitive about? I guess like really my competition is always with myself, which is not good because I feel like I'm always trying to like do something better than I did the other day or trying to maybe do too much if I think I can do it all, you know? So I think really I get in my own way for completing like simple things because I'm always like, well, if I didn't do this yesterday, I could definitely do it today, plus all the other things I need to do, and then I don't do it, and then I'm disappointed. So I think that lies like more internally than outside, because I don't think I'm a competitive person in general. Like, I'm not competitive in games. I don't care if I lose. You know, I'm not that kind of person, but yeah.
Your answer is very relatable, though. Like, I guarantee
Thank
you
you.
that's an incredibly relatable answer.
I think so. Yeah, we're always fighting internal battles.
What is a current obsession of yours?
What am I obsessed with? Oh my God. I got my color analysis done. And
Ooh,
now I'm obsessed with finding my right shade of everything. So like I am so into right now like cleaning out my closet and then finding the best thing for me to wear or
so
to like use for makeup or, you know.
so
Hmm.
good. I heard about this color analysis. I might have to dive in.
It like rocked my world. Truly. I was like, what is going on? Yeah.
If your life had a motto, what would it be?
Go with the flow.
Love that.
Thanks.
What is something that instantly annoys you?
That list could be very long, but instantly annoys me. I would say when I can hear somebody chewing their food.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like instant annoyance.
Yeah. I hear you on that
Mhm.
one. All right. And then the last one, what's your drink of choice?
An ice latte, an ice short latte with whole milk and honey.
Oh, that sounds really good. I haven't been someone to throw honey into my coffee or
Mm-hmm.
anything like that, but I might have to venture into that. I also started seeing that people were using date syrup as well as ways to sweeten things. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
that could be interesting too.
Yeah, I saw somebody did dates soaked in espresso. Yeah, and then blended that up, and that looked really good. I was like, wow. But yeah, honey is one of my favorite add-ons to coffee. Hmm.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up. It has been so much fun talking to you, though. Before we're done, the final question is, what do you wish people could understand about your work?
I wish people knew how passionate we are about making our clients happy and how when we really care, we go to certain levels to learn hair to to better your experience. So I wish people knew that it's not just us, and the stereotype right now is like, oh, hairdressers are insane for the prices they charge, and they're, who do they think they are? They're charging more than doctors and this and that. And I think people need to understand that one, it costs a lot of money to even buy the things that we use on your hair. Two, it costs a lot of money to learn the things that we do to keep you trendy, to keep you, with the butterfly and the wolf cut and the honey teddy bear blonde and all this shit that people make up on social media. Um, and it's really taxing on our bodies. So, you know, our free time is so valuable to us that sometimes I think when people find out you do hair, they think that you're just accessible always and you can just bend over backwards and work on your days off because it's just hair. So I think people should understand that we are also human and we're not robots and we need our time off, especially on such a physically taxing job.
Yes to everything you just said. That was such like a solid way to close this out. That was so good. Everyone, Tatiana's handle and link to her social media will be in the description on Spotify as well as on the podcast's main website. You'll be able to read more about her and find out where she is on the internet. Thank you, Tatiana, so much for joining me. This has been such a fun chat, and I really can't wait for everyone to tune in.